Hello and welcome to another Daily Muppet. This is the Florida edition. I've been on vacation with the family in Florida for about the last week. Heading home today, and it's been a good trip, but obviously the last little bit has been very eventful, much more eventful than expected in the lead up to the World Cup for Manchester United news. Since I've come down to Florida, the land of the Glazers, a lot has happened that I wanted to just talk about today, as things have come out, and give some insight into what's happened, how things have gotten here, where we've gone, and all of that. I'll try to be somewhat brief because otherwise I'll lose complete track of what I'm doing. It's been it's foggy and gray here, not exactly sunny and all of that, but that's okay. It's been a great holiday. So starting with Ronaldo, the Ronaldo situation, where it's at. Obviously things came to a head with the whole interview that was released by Ronaldo, everything that came out about it. United immediately upon release of the interview, Erik ten Hag went to the board and said, I don't want him ever playing for the club again. I don't want him being with the team again. It's in my eyes, as the manager, it's done. And one of the points of consideration that Richard Arnold has made as the acting CEO of Manchester United, as opposed to his predecessors, this was something told to me, is he's placed a huge emphasis on manager control of the football squad in terms of contracts, in terms of departures, in terms of people he doesn't want around. Obviously signings as well, but that's also somewhat secondary to, there's always a budget, and there always will be a budget regardless of things. And you have a full football department that helps you in recruitment, scouting, analyzing, which we'll talk about as well. But very specifically, when it comes to who do you want to keep and be a part of your squad, there's been a heavy emphasis from Richard Arnold on Erik ten Hag, or whoever's the manager, having control of that. And so that showed up pretty quickly. They looked into how to terminate the contract. As I've said since summer, Erik ten Hag doesn't want him. Ronaldo's wanted to leave. It was being blocked at times by the Glazers, but also by lack of offers. But what they wanted from the start, which I think is now what Ronaldo got, what he wanted, I think, and what he was open to, which was always the best route for him to leave, was the mutual termination, where he forgoes his wages and United cancel the contract. No cost to either party. United saved 16-17 million. And so that's what ended up happening. They had quick discussions with his representatives, and basically Mendes and all that just said he just wants to go. He just wants out now. They'll forego the wages. Otherwise, it'd be a long legal battle and all of that. So it's good. It worked out. He should have been let go in summer. That's what I'll say. He should have been let go in summer. I fully believe that. He should have been let go in summer, and it would have avoided this situation. But it's done now, and so Ronaldo is gone from a mutual termination, which is what ten Hag wanted. Didn't want him to be in the squad and all of that, and hasn't really wanted to have him all year. Obviously, it leaves United in a situation very short up front. I mean, Ronaldo's had to play basically out of necessity, even though he's not been performing, and they've been extremely short. So it's always been the case, if Ronaldo leaves, they'll look for someone in January. The complication is, then that's totally true. Ronaldo leaves, they're going to look for someone in January. So they are looking at January now. They are going there. Of course, this is now complicated by what is now confirmed, though it's been something we've been talking about on this channel and Discord and Twitter and all of that since August, though it was denied by many people who suddenly have all the information that Manchester United is in fact for sale. And I want to give you some of the details that I was given at the time about this, and then I'll talk about January briefly and go into what comes next. August 8th, I was told that there was a moment where Avram was over in England, and what I was told August 8th was United are for sale. They've decided. It was a board meeting. They decided they're for sale. They're worried about everything. They're worried about the interest rates rising, the debts, the struggles that they're having, share prices, costs, all of it. The entire economic situation was leading to something where they felt that they needed to get out, that they didn't have the funds in order to sustain the club at the level of investment needed. They could not get sponsors. They were having doubts from the sponsors. They're not getting the investments that they need to rebuild the stadium, to do the things they need to do. I've been talking about this for weeks now, months now. United are not in a financial position under the Glazers where they can afford to continue the way they've been doing it and invest in the things that need investing. And while they didn't want a sale, they didn't necessarily want to, their ideal situation was to get some type of investment into the club overall that would allow them to continue it, but the way they were looking at it is pretty typical in their regards. They were looking to get investment without giving up any sort of control or shares or things like that, which is not an attractive prospect to virtually anybody, because football clubs in general, including Manchester United, are not profitable. Nobody makes money from them. You make money on the long-term gains of the increased value of the club, but who's going to put $750 million or $1 billion into the club in hopes that they're going to get a return on that later, when the value of the shares is based on voting control? And if they don't have a say in it, they have to trust that the Glazers are going to make the right decisions to increase the value of the club, and they're not, and nobody trusts them to. So effectively, they ran out of options, which is why they were looking at a sale, even if it was sort of their last ditch route, the only way out, or what they'd be forced to look at, has been always the point. They'd be forced to look at it. And so initially in August, when that happened, they said cut all spending. That was their first inclination, was cut all spending. We're looking at selling the club. And that's when they were looking at Rabiot and Arnautovic. And then it got really ugly. Things weren't going well. Results were bad. They had further meetings and decided that they also started exploring offers, and they weren't getting the prices that they wanted. They were getting people offering or talking about somewhere in the range of $3.5 billion, $3 billion, things like that. Because again, the situation of the club is pretty dire. They don't want to sell to a state-owned fund. They want to sell to private investors, something similar to FSG. But the only people in that bracket, private investors like that, are not going to buy a club that's bleeding money, that has $150 million in losses, that has a football downturn, that is looking poor, as United were at the time. They're not going to do that. They're not going to put $5 billion into that, because they're going to hope to increase the value and get a return. And everybody knows they're going to have to spend money, but in the long term, they're not doing it for the goodness of their heart. They want the value of the club in 10 years to be worth double, and that'll be done with success, the way that it's supposed to be. And so that was the goal overall, but they weren't getting the prices that they wanted. So instead of, so they said, all right, instead, this is sort of a quick kind of back and forth style of thinking here. Instead, they said, okay, let's dump a bunch of money in, get Ten Hag what he needs, because we're going to trust this manager can bring the football results back up and get some excitement back in the fans, and help get the some of the fan support back, so that we can try and increase the value of the club. And I've been talking about this for a long time, that I believe their goal was increase the value of the club so they can get a sale perhaps later in the year, but that talks would be ongoing during the World Cup. So then they dumped all the money and they bought Antony, Casemiro, etc., right? Had a big end to the summer, and things have improved. And you would say that United are on the upswing. In the meantime, they've been making the hires in the data science department, etc., things like that. So the complication now is, in January, they have some savings. They're likely to invest, but not a lot more. They know they're going to have to do something to keep things up, but I think the reason that they went public now is they know that they cannot really further invest and get into debt but they need to start gauging prices, getting more bidders and things like that involved, so that they can sell the club, but perhaps sooner even, and get the value that they want. So they're looking at it now. They've been looking at it. They're trying to go public to get more investors, to get a better price, to get more competition and things like that. They think it's a good opportunity for talks to occur, for things to happen, and potentially to have something lined up, which would allow them to, even if it's not done in the middle of the season, to spend perhaps in January what they need to continue the rise of the club. Perhaps even with a framework of a deal approved by another party, where they can say, look, we know this is going to take a long time to occur, but why don't we, you spend this money in January, put this on the books, they discuss it, we're still obviously going to buy the club. It'll just, we also agree that it'll probably help the value of the club, help the results on the pitch, and ensure that by the time the club closes, that they've had a good season. So I do expect that purchase will be made in January. I don't think it's going to be something like 80, 100 million, but keep an eye on guys like Cody Gakpo, because they're still interested in him. Ten Hag is still interested in him. And right now, they're still going to be a bit reliant, rightly so, on Ten Hag for the decisions that get made and things like that in terms of the transfer market. So it's been a long road. They've been looking at a lot of this sale thing has been happening for a long time. But as I've said, I don't expect that they're going to sell to a state fund. I believe that they've been looking at and talking to people in more of the consortiums. There's some American groups that have been in touch with them and interested. There's some groups in Europe that are interested. There's others too. I'm not saying Dubai isn't interested or anything like that, but I believe that their preference is to sell to a more like an FSG type group or some kind of consortium. That's just what I believe from what I've heard. So we'll see what happens now. Obviously the news is going to be kind of crazy for a while, and there's going to be people who have info on millions of different things and all the different buyers, and someone's going to end up with the insight into that Rain group, who were the people who handled the Chelsea fund. And again, I know this all information is to be true, because back in August I was told that from some, Bloomberg were told by people around the Rothschild Bank that United were prepared for the sale, that they had already instructed them in August. In their specific press release, they said it's exclusively handled by the Rothschild. That's how I know the information was so good and so accurate. Rothschild Bank were telling people in August that United were up for sale. And they were starting to look at it, but quietly, on the quiet, just exploring the avenue and trying to gauge interest. So it's been ongoing for months and months. I think it's further along. I think they have groups in mind. I think they know what kind of fee they're going to be able to get now, in the range of, I believe it'll be above 4 billion, plus the debt. And then I believe the new owners are more likely to do something like take a loan out like Spurs and such have for the stadium and infrastructure, but a different type of loan. It's not the type of loan or debt that the Glazers saddle the club with. It's a type of loan or debt like the Spurs have or Madrid has. It's going to increase the revenue of the club, but it's also going to be paid off. It's not something that's going to sit there forever. You're just paying interest on. It's going to be like a 30-year mortgage type of deal. And that's okay. That's the type of debt the club can have. It's infrastructure. That's the type that you want to have, not the type that they currently have. So it's going to be interesting times. It's very interesting times at United now. And I just wanted to make this video to cover some of the insights on this and what's happening next. But over the next weeks, they're going to be talking with different parties, exploring what prices are out there, who's interested, accepting kind of open bids, and seeing what goes from there. How it affects January really does remain to be seen. If someone can move fast, then maybe someone's in by January. But if not, I would imagine there will be conversations about what they can spend in January, with parties that are interested, understanding, hey, we need to invest this type of money. Because usually when you have a sale, you have a freeze of all new things and such. But it could take time for all of this to occur. And in that time, they're likely to spend at least the savings. I don't think there'll be a huge spend, because it doesn't make sense, and they don't have the cash, nor the debt. They paid the dividends off the equity line. The equity line's full. They don't have the money to do the things that they need to do now, or to spend that much right now. They got some freed up wages from Ronaldo, and that's basically what they could put towards installments and wages of a player right now. So tricky situation. But yeah, I would personally keep an eye on Cody Gakpo. I know that Benjamin Šeško is still of interest. I don't know how that works in terms of January. Could they tear up the whole deal? Do they pay Leipzig instead for the money? Make it a loan from Salzburg with a buy that's paid to Leipzig in summer? I don't know, but they might look to do something like that. That is also possible. It would be a way to push the purchase into summer if they had an agreement with an interested party. So we'll have to keep a close eye on it, and I'll keep passing along everything I'm hearing, as obviously pretty much all of it's been confirmed now on this, and I think I have a good line. And in terms of Ratcliffe and Ineos, the concern was in the last couple of weeks that they feel they've been priced out of it, because it's going to cost 6-7 billion total for everything that's needed, and that it's just maybe not worth it for Ratcliffe and Ineos. I know he's interested. He was talking to other parties about it. So I wouldn't totally rule him out, but if he goes in, it may not necessarily just be Ineos. It may be a consortium with other companies where it's not just Ineos pumping 6 billion in, but a consortium of different groups and people, because there were discussions about that as well. Okay, so anyway, thank you for watching. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, turn notifications on. Regular videos will start again probably next week once I'm back. It's US holidays, all of that. Talk about the World Cup performances and keep you up to date on all of what should be an eventful time during the World Cup as we go into the potential final departure of the Glazers from Manchester United. So again, thank you for watching. See you soon.